A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the ManageEngine team, I welcome you all to today's free OpManager training series. Before we could start, please confirm if you're able to hear me properly and see the presentation. You can confirm by commenting in the chat channel. We'll start the presentation once we get few confirmations that the audio and the presentation is clear. Okay, we have started receiving few confirmations that the audio and the presentation is clear. Let me introduce myself. I'm R. Surendran, one of the product experts from the ManageEngine team who takes care of support, product training, and implementation for OpManager. So now let's discuss the schedule for this season's OpManager training. So on April 6th, we had a detailed discussion on network discovery in OpManager, followed by April 13th, where we have discussed about network monitoring and the capacity of OpManager in monitoring your network equipments. Followed by on April 20th, we have discussed in detail about alerts, reports, and network mapping. And today, April 27th, we are going to discuss on add-ons and the integration options which are available within OpManager. For the better convenience of larger audience, we do have two schedules. One will be conducted in the GMT time zone, and the second, which is conducted now in the EDT time zone. If you have any doubts during the session in the topics which we are discussing, please do raise them in the chat channel. We have a team of panelists here who could answer all your questions. And I would also like to inform you that we would be having a short question and answer session at the end of the webinar where I would be sharing few of the interesting questions which we have received during the course of the webinar for the advantage of larger audience. Now, let's kickstart the part 4 on the OpManager training series where we are going to discuss about the add-ons and the integrations. The agenda for today's webinar is as follows. So we are going to see in detail about the add-ons and its benefits, where we'll be discussing the list of other ManageEngine softwares that are connected with the OpManager to give a complete network performance and a network monitoring tool. We'll be seeing the various integration options which makes your work easy with OpManager. Followed by, we'll be seeing the usage of mobile app where you can monitor your IT even on a go. You can simply see all your updates, view the information from your mobile directly. So what is an add-on? So add-on in an OpManager is an additional module which gives you a better leverage and an advantage with various additional features to monitor the network equipments with various parameters in your environment. For example, if you're going to monitor the performance of the OpManager using the devices which are there, you can simply monitor the CPU, memory, and disk. But in real time, when we talk about system and network administrator, monitoring the performance would not be sufficient. In those cases, we would be having multiple other important and critical metrics like flow-based monitoring would be required, firewall rule-based monitoring would be required. We need to take regular backups for our Cisco or network devices and compare them. So to meet all these various requirements in detail, the add-ons in OpManager is going to play a major role and meet all those requirements. So what are the various add-ons which are available within OpManager? In OpManager, we do have 5 different add-ons, starting with the flow analysis. The flow analysis is an add-on which is based on flow and bandwidth monitoring. So based on the flows which are coming from your network equipment, we will be monitoring them and alerting you based on the configuration which you do, and you can have a complete analysis of the entire bandwidth and the traffic utilization of your entire network based on flows. In NetFlow Analyzer, we can monitor your bandwidth in your environment based on various flows, starting from S-flow, J-flow, app flow, and various other flows which are available in the real-time market. followed by the second add-on, which is called as configuration management. By the name itself, we can understand that this add-on, configuration management or NCM, will be helping us to take regular configuration, running and startup configuration backups for our network devices. We could compare the backups which has been taken today and few months ago, and you can also push configuration to the network equipments from the op manager itself and do various alerting and monitoring in terms of configuration for your network equipment. Followed by the third add-on, which is called as Firewall Log Analysis or Firewall Log Analyzer, FWA. This add-on helps us monitor your firewall in detail in terms of bandwidth utilization, the rules, compliances, what is happening in your firewalls, what are the success rates, how many hits are happening, how many attacks are happening, how many rules have been violated, which user is violating the rules at what particular time in from which particular machine. So in detail, log-based analysis, syslog-based analysis, and firewall based monitoring and in-depth analysis would be available when we use Firewall Log Analyzer to monitor your firewalls. Followed by the fourth add-on, which is called as IP management. IP management, or otherwise called as oputils, is going to help you manage your IP addresses and your switch ports which are available in your environment to have a clear picture of what is happening in your environment and what is the usage statistics of your environment and the equipments in your setup, so that you'll have a better resource planning and a capacity management. Followed by the fifth add-on, which is called as application manager. Application manager is an add-on which is going to help us monitor various applications which are there in your environment, along with database monitoring, SQL management, and various other in-depth application level monitoring can be done and achieved using application manager. So now we are going to see in detail about the benefits of the add-ons and the usage of them. By using the add-ons, the first and foremost important benefit which we are going to get is that there'll be no additional EXEs. All you have to do is install OpManager, which is a bundled product with all these 5 add-ons together. So once you install OpManager, based on your license, you can activate and use the add-ons based on your requirement. And the OpManager Plus with the add-on is a multi-vendor support product where you need not have different add-ons or different products to monitor various vendors. So here, by installing OpManager with the add-ons, you can have a multi-vendor support and monitor all your devices in your environment. It allows to have all your data under a single roof. If you want to see a flow-based monitoring or a bandwidth-based data, you need not go to a separate UI or a separate page and view them. Everything would be available in a single console under a single roof. And also, this would be highly economical as an alternative, especially where you need not have multiple licenses and multiple different products. Everything comes into a single roof, which becomes an economical alternative option for your network monitoring tool in your environment. And this tackles the multi-licensing complexities which is happening when you have multiple products to monitor various different metrics in your environment. So when you have OpManager with the add-ons, everything comes under a single roof and the licensing is also a single point of contact. And this reduces the amount of switching between various tools to view various different data. And now we are going to see about how to enable the add-ons in OpManager. So to enable the add-on in OpManager, all you have to do is you have to go to Settings, General Settings, and under General Settings, you have to click on System Settings. So under System Settings, you would be able to see the displayed modules. The displayed modules is the place where you can enable and disable the add-ons within the OpManager. So let me quickly take you to the product and show you how this can be achieved. For this, we have to go to Settings, general settings. Under general settings, we have to go to system settings. So under system settings, you would be able to see the displayed module. So based on the requirement, you can enable or disable the add-on which you want to view and access them and save them. So as simple as this. So by just a few clicks, you can enable the add-ons which you want to use and which you don't want to use, and you could use the op manager to look to the fullest. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. So now we are going to start the first add-on, which is called as flow analysis. Flow analysis is a network traffic and a bandwidth management tool, which is going to give you a monitoring capacity for the bandwidth usage patterns, analyze the traffic trends with NetFlow Analyzer, and this also helps you determine the applications that are consuming the most bandwidth, the top talkers in your environment, and the volume of the traffic at a particular time to solve one of the major problems that are faced by the environment or the enterprise customers as of today. And now let's see the various features which are available in NetFlow Analyzer. So starting with, you can monitor your network bandwidth monitor, you can have network traffic monitoring, you can have a fast network troubleshooting, you can have a threshold based alerting, you can have application performance optimization, application and protocol monitoring. Integrated network management is also available. So let's take an example here. In my environment, I am having a 10 gig or 100 gig bandwidth, which has been used for all of my clients and the technicians who are working on them. But at a particular time, the bandwidth is being used too much and it spikes, and which causes a outage where the bandwidth is not sufficient for the entire environment. So in those cases, what you can do is, by the usage of flow analysis, you can see which application is using the traffic, which user is using it, whether it is a business critical application or it's a non-business critical application, which site has been visited more, which user is doing that. So you can have all those in a clear picture, which gives you that these are non-business critical applications which are being used unwantedly and which are wasting the bandwidth, so that you could inform and put the ACLs on the network devices so that you could have a better network shaping and a traffic shaping in your environment. So by the usage of flow analysis, you will be able to have a clear bandwidth monitoring, and you can have clear checks in your environment of what has to be used at what particular time. And if there is any unnecessary traffic being consumed, you can very well put checks there and make the changes so that you can use your bandwidth and the traffic to the fullest. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various options and features which are available when we talk about NetFlow Analyzer. So here I am going to take an example of an interface which I am monitoring. For example, if you want to monitor any interface or device and NetFlow Analyzer add-on, all you have to do is you have to start forwarding your flows from your network equipment to the op manager. So once you do that, op manager will automatically add the device and the respective interface, and it will start collecting the data. So this is how you can add the interface or devices to NetFlow Analyzer. So once you do that, the data will be automatically populated, and you could see each and every information based on your requirement and criteria. So when we talk about NetFlow Analyzer, how is it licensed? The NetFlow Analyzer is licensed based on the number of interfaces which you want to manage rather than the number of devices which you want to manage. So if you want to monitor 10 uplink interfaces in your environment, you have to get 10 interface license in the NetFlow Analyzer add-on. So now let's come back to the this particular interface where I'm going to see the traffic utilization for the past 7 days. So when I check the traffic utilization for the past 7 days, in terms of speed, I do have a constant speed for my environment and for all the users. And also I'll be having a detailed summary tabulation where it will give me the in and out traffic with the total consumption in the last 7 days, along with the maximum and minimum, then the standard deviation and the 95th percentile, along with the detailed description at what particular time, how much of traffic has been used in this particular environment. Let's say I want to see this traffic analysis in terms of volume instead of speed. Yes, you can do it. All you have to do is you have to switch the data description in which you want to see the data, and you also have the flexibility to choose the different graphs in which you want to view the data as well. Let's say one of my client is complaining that the application is a little slow and it is not as up to the mark. So in those cases, you can check the packet loss and see what is the packet loss at that particular time, and then take the actions necessary. And like we saw in the example in the initial stages, we want to know which application is actually consuming too much of bandwidth or traffic in my environment. So in those cases, you could see the traffic utilization based on applications. And if you want to see it based on protocols, yes, you can do it. And once you have, you know, the information which application or which particular data is consuming too much of traffic in your environment and which user is doing that, then you can take the necessary actions. The source and the destination tab is going to give you the information on which particular source is consuming how much of traffic in your environment and how this can be altered based on your requirement and traffic utilization. And also you will have quality of service conversations and each and every information about your network and based on the bandwidth utilization of each and every equipment in your environment. So by seeing this information, you'll know at what particular time what traffic or bandwidth is being used, which application is consuming too much, whether it's business critical or non-business critical application, which user is doing that, from which system it is happening, how much of traffic one particular user is consuming. So you will have a detailed picture of your entire bandwidth utilization in your environment in a clear manner. And also you can have your ACLs configured so that you can have a better network traffic shaping and give a better usability of the traffic which you have purchased, the bandwidth which you have purchased, and you can use them to the fullest. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about config management, or otherwise called as NCM. The network configuration change and compliance management is a multi-vendor network change configuration and compliance management tool which is designed to adapt your operational needs, and it also has a number of other best-in-class solutions up in its sleeve. The various features which are available under NCM is as follows. You can take automated backups, you can get change management in real time, you can have a compliance monitoring, you can have config lists, you can push changes, you can automate the processes, you can have an extensive report for the information which you are collecting. So here, when we talk about NCM and the usability in real-time environment, I am a service provider for my clients, and I want my routers to be performing at the peak of its performance all the time. And there was a small update or a change in one of my uplink routers, and after the change, the network traffic or the bandwidth which has been used to that particular router is a little slow and sluggish. So now I will have the add-on which is called as NCM, which is going to take backup before and after the change, and it knows that because of what change there is a problem, and if it is a mandatory or a particular change which should not be done on any of the routers, you can immediately configure the NCM to push that configuration and override and get it back to its original state. Let's take an example. I am an educational institution where I have a particular set of configuration which should never be changed in my network equipments. So in those cases, if someone accidentally changes that, OpManager Plus, the config management, is immediately going to alert you that this configuration has been changed, and you can automate a task which is going to override that change and take it back to its original state so that you will not have any configuration changed without your permission, and to avoid any security breaches in your environment. So now let me take you to the application and show you the various features and options which are available in terms of configuration management. So under Network Configuration Manager, the licensing is based on number of devices which you want to manage. So over here, if you want to add your network configuration or your any network equipments to the NCM, all you have to do is you have to add the device with correct SNMP or CLI credentials. So once you do that, and you have an automated process where the product will be taking regular backups of the configuration, the startup and running configurations in your environment, and will keep it in the repository so that you can use it for future references as well. And likewise, let's say I am not pretty good, or I don't have a knowledge with various different vendors in terms of configuring the network devices to have certain changes. So in those environments or scenarios, the product itself gives you a complete detailed description, help documentation with various different vendors and the configuration steps on how you can add devices to the NCM and take it forward. So here, when we talk about this particular device, which is going to be a Cisco router, where I'll be able to see what are the changes, what is the device details, whether if it's added properly, whether the configuration has been good or not, if there is any violations which are happening, and every other information in the summary page itself. And I will also have a detailed information about the configuration changes which has happened, and whether if it's an authorized one or if it's an non-authorized change just happened in my network equipment. And likewise, when we talk about the inventory tab, where I would be able to see the various different devices which are connected to them and the interfaces which are there within this particular network equipment. And I will be also have a detailed picture on the hardware information about this particular device. Finally, the backup status, how many changes has been added, how many has been modified, what has been deleted. In case if you want to see the detailed information about the modification which has been done, just click on the picture and it's going to list all the modification which has been happened in that particular device, so that you'll know what are the changes which has been done, so that you can override them, or you can view them, or you can take it forward accordingly. So likewise, what are the other options in terms of network configuration management which is offered by NCM when I start monitoring them? The next important feature which you would be having is config automation, where a particular change has been detected and this change should not be done in your environment. So in those cases, you can automate the product to push and override that change and have them configured accordingly. And the most recent and the one of the best features which we have released is about firmware vulnerability alerts, which is going to happen. So here, the product itself is going to monitor the vulnerabilities which are there in your network equipment, and it's going to give you the detailed description about what has happened in your environment, what is the recent vulnerability which has been updated in the vendor site, and what has to be done to fix this particular vulnerability. And this vulnerability database will be updated as soon as there is a change in the official vendor websites, and this is going to give you a real-time monitoring of your configuration and if there are any vulnerabilities in the firmware version which you're using for your network equipment. And likewise, you will have a detailed compliance management where you can configure your rules, group them together, and then create a policy and have a complete compliance policies. And also, the product gives you the default compliances which are available, which are given by the vendors itself. And if you want to create custom compliances or rules, you can very well do that using the NCM, which is otherwise called as Configuration Manager. So here, when we talk about the storage and the various information which are done within NCM, you can clearly see that you will have a separate credential profile where you can have your credentials or the protocols used in a detailed manner and stored accordingly. Likewise, for example, if you want to export your configurations, you can very well do them, or you can also determine how long you want to store the information or the backup which you're taking. You can see the export history, the SNMP trap-based alerting. You can have detailed information about the informations which you are collecting and the information which you are viewing. And in terms of reporting, the NCM, the Network Configuration Manager, gives you a wide range of various important reports based on each and every information which you're monitoring in terms of configuration and the backups that you take, vulnerabilities, conflicts, and each and every other information which you want to view and access. So also you will be able to see the security audit reports, which is pretty important in terms of the changes which happens at what particular user does that at what particular time. So with all these various options and information, we will have a clear picture on what is happening in our network equipment and what changes are happening. And if we don't like them and if it's not authorized, we can immediately automate uh, a process to override them and have a much secured environment. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about firewall log analysis. The firewall security and log management is designed to provide a network activity insight while keeping tab on all the firewall logs. This helps us understand how your network is utilizing the bandwidth. The platform works regardless of the firewall architecture, supporting over 50 firewall vendors, including Checkpoint, Juniper Network, Cisco, Fortinet, and Palo Alto Networks, and etc. So when we talk about the various features which are available in Firewall Log Analyzer, we can have a configuration change management report, firewall policy optimization report, VPN reports, employee internet usage, the used firewall rules report, the firewall alerts, virus attack, and security reports in terms of your firewall and the data which is monitored. So let's take an example here. I do have an educational institution and or I am an education organization where I need to keep in tabs of what has been accessed by my students or by my teachers, and I should have a clear filter on the rules which are happening, which rules are violated, and what sites have been visited too very often. So in those cases, I could clearly see from which machine what sites have been viewed by which particular user at what particular time, which will give me a detailed description of what's happening. Let's take another environment where I am an IT firm where I need to keep in tab of my employees who are visiting different sites, if it's business critical or not business critical, how many attacks are happening, how many vulnerabilities are happening, which rules have been violated too very often, by which particular user and from which machine. So by using Firewall Log Analyzer, you will get a detailed description and a in detail data of what is happening in your firewall in terms of traffic, the log analysis, user-based bandwidth utilization, and each and every information which is happening in your firewall for your environment. So now let me take you to the product and show you how Firewall Log Analyzer works and gives you various different information. Before I could continue, I would like to inform you that if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please do raise it in the chat channel. We do have a team of panelists here who could answer your questions. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. So when we talk about the devices which we are monitoring in the firewall log analyzer, the first step which we have to do when we start add a device, it's pretty simple in the firewall log analyzer. Just give me one moment. We are logging into the product. So now we are inside the Firewall Log Analyzer add-on, and once you've added your firewall and if you've started forwarding your syslog to the OpManager server, automatically the OpManager will start listening to the firewall log, and we will be able to see each and every information from your firewall under the add-on, which is called as Firewall Analyzer. So here I am going to take an example for the Fortinet firewall which is there in my environment, and here I am going to see the traffic utilization for today. For today, my average and the total in and out speed is around 1.3 megabytes, which is happening in real time. And let's say I want to have a traffic analysis for the last 30 days or last 7 days. If I change the timeline, I could easily see how much of traffic is going in and out in what particular time. So let's say I want to see the bandwidth utilization of my traffic which is being used through my firewall by various different technicians and various different applications. So in this information, you can very well see that how much of traffic is being used at what particular time. Over here, it's clearly visible that the in traffic is pretty high, which is reaching nearly 1.4, which is at the peak most of the time. So this gives me an idea of what is happening in my environment. So this will help me understand how the traffic, how the bandwidth is being used, whether if it's an in traffic or an out traffic, and then I could get the allocated traffic utilization or the allocated bandwidth accordingly so that I could take it forward. The next important metric which I would like to know is that I could see that the in traffic is pretty high. So what are the top sites or the top utilization applications which are there, or which host is using the majority of my traffic and which is doing the most damage in my environment. So in those cases, you can clearly have all those information under the top 10 tab, where in terms of host, when we see the host based data, we could see that this particular host 100.0.240.1 has nearly like 5,264 hits, where it is consuming nearly 19,370 MB of data, and the total traffic is around 11%. The total bandwidth utilized by this host is around 11%, which is a little alarming. So I need to determine or see why this host is consuming so much of data, what application is being used, whether if it's a legitimate one or it's a non-business critical application, or the usability which this particular host and the user is performing. And let's say to talk about the destination based data. Over here, I could see that this particular destination is the maximum visited or viewed information in my environment, which is consuming maximum amount of data. And likewise, I could also see the protocol based grouping as well. Let's say, for example, this web based application or this web based grouping is the maximum utilization in my environment. So this gives me which particular protocols are used how many times with how much of data in them. So this is going to give me a better leverage on what is happening in my environment. I will have a clear picture on what is happening as well. So now I'm going to have the next step. So I know the bandwidth you used at this particular time is pretty high. I know which host is doing it, how many hits are happening. The next thing is the sites which are visited too very often, how many are allowed and how many are denied ones, and how which users are taking them or visiting them too very often. So using Firewall Analyzer, this is going to give you the total understanding of what is happening in your environment. Over here, you can see that Twitter is one of the major sites that has been visited too very often in my environment. Likewise, when we talk about the denied website based on the firewall rules which I have configured, I could clearly see that this particular application, this particular website, the URL has been visited too very often, and it is a blocked one. And I could clearly see that there is 1,335 hits with various different users. So this will give me why this site has been visited too very often, or should I be giving a much higher privilege to that, so that this is not going to cause any business critical downtimes or network breaches in my environment. And also I could have a detailed picture of the applications which are using which have been used too much in my environment, which goes through my firewall, and also the rules which have been violated too very often, which by which particular user or which particular host is using them, and why it has been done so many times, so that I could take the necessary actions accordingly. And also, when we talk about security in the internet world as of now, the security based management and the monitoring is one of the important things which we have to keep at the full notch all the time. So this security based monitoring from the firewall log analyzer is going to give you the detailed picture based on the number of attacks which are happening, the virus within the statuses, whether if it's a normal one or it's a violated one, how many top sites which have been the denied sites which have been visited too very often, which destination, which server is doing that, the host which is actually visiting the denied host site, the number of scams which particular host is doing that, which is going through your firewall and hitting your servers, the user logins, how many users or incorrect login attempts are happening. And right now, as we have moved on to a work from home scenario after the COVID-19 situation, the VPN based connections are happening too very often to our environment. So here, the firewall log analyzer gives you a detailed monitoring equipment where you can see all the VPN-based connections, how many VPN sessions are active, how many users are using it, what traffic utilization is happening, how many hits are happening, whether if it's going through pretty normally or not. You can also get a detailed description about the data which has been monitored. And also, when we talk about the in terms of data which we are storing, for example, I want to determine, I don't want to store the data within the firewall log analyzer more than a month, but I do have a different scenario where I'm a government organization where I have a compliance policy of I should have the data for the next 3 months. So in those cases, you can configure the firewall log analyzers to store the data for the next 3 months or next 6 months, so that you will have all the different informations. And likewise, when we talk about rules and security management from the firewall log analyzer, you can have a detailed picture of the security, the rules which is happening. You can optimize them. You can have a detailed picture on how you can perform the cleanups You can have the impact-based reports, which is going to give you what impact is happening by which particular user and which particular application is happening. And also you can take detailed reports. You can, if you click on impact analysis, it's going to give you a detailed report with all the information which are vital in terms of the impact which is going to happen based on each and every protocol and various vendors. So this is how you can use Firewall Log Analyzer to monitor your firewall in detail and have a clear and a detailed picture of what is happening in your environment. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about IP management, or otherwise called as OpUtils. OpUtils helps network engineers manage their switches and IP address space with an easy. With its comprehensive set of 20 plus tools, OpUtils helps you perform the network monitoring tasks like detecting rogue intrusion, keep bandwidth usage in check, monitor the availability of crucial or critical devices, backup the Cisco configuration files, and etc. When we talk about the features which are available under IP management, these are the features which are as follows. IP management, switchboard management, rogue detection, bandwidth monitoring, config file management based on LAN 2. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various different options and the features which are available in terms of IP management or OpUtils. So over here, when we talk about the first and foremost information, which is called as the licensing. In terms of IP management, we have two subdivisions in this add-on, which is called as IP address manager and switchboard mapper. The IP address manager is licensed based on number of IPs which you want to manage, and the switchboard mapper is licensed based on number of ports which you want to manage in your network equipments. So over here, as soon as you add your subnet to OpUtils, automatically you would be able to see the detailed information about the IP usage in this particular subnet. For example, over here, my subnet usage is around 52%, and which gives me a clear picture on the used available transient IPs which are there. And when I go to the IP details tab, this is going to give me multiple columns with critical information such as what's the IP address, the DNS name, whether the DNS is resolving or not, what's the MAC address, whether the forward and reverse NS lookup is working, what's the status of it, whether it's available, free, or used or transient. I would be able to have a clear picture on what is happening. I could have the history, the information on what is happening in my subnet and in my switches pretty clearly. And also, when we talk about IP address manager, we can have various different informations in terms of these subnets. By adding all our subnets in our environment, I'll know what is my entire environment's capacity, how much is being used, how much are free, so that I could, let's say, downtime or remove the unwanted capacities or the resources which I have, and or if it's under resourced for my environment, I could add additional resources so that I could use that to the fullest. And when we talk about switchboard mapper, all you have to do is you have to add your network equipment, your network device to the switchboard mapper with the SNMP credential. And once you do that, the product itself will scan them in the regular intervals based on the schedule which you're creating. So once the scan happens, it's going to give the detailed picture on the port utilization based on number of ports which are available, transient available, the VLANs which are there in your environment. And in terms of ports, when you click on the port tab, this is going to give you the information of what is the status of this particular port. For example, if I want to see the status of this particular port, I know that in port 32, I have this device connected and it's available. This is the MAC address connected to them. Each and every information in terms of the port and the device which is connected can be viewed clearly. And also the port view is going to give me the pictorial representation of what is happening in my switch, and the port history. By the name itself, we'll understand that it's going to give me the port history of what has happened at what particular time and how things are happening accordingly. And this, along, once we have our subnets and our switches added to our OpUtils, the next important thing which is going to help us is rogue detection. So any unauthorized device entry into an environment which is not a legitimate one, the OpUtils is immediately going to notify you that these are the rogue devices which are coming through, and you can immediately block them, or you can immediately take it out by the specific configurations. And if you add your Active Directory to the op utils, automatically we would be able to determine which are trusted devices and which are not trusted devices. And likewise, you can configure the schedule so that operators will scan them in regular intervals and get the information updated, so that you will have a real-time information of what is happening in your environment based on IP and port usage, and how the connections are happening in your environment. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about application manager. By the name itself, we can understand that we can manage the application performance monitoring using Application Manager. The Application Manager provides an out-of-box monitoring for a heterogeneous set of applications across physical, virtual, cloud environments with a wide range of over 100 technologies. Application Manager enables the IT teams to deliver an optimal end user experience. When we talk about features, we have application discovery and dependency mapping. We have synthetic transition monitoring, end device user experience monitoring, fault management with root cause analysis, anomaly detection with dynamic baselines, advanced analytics to have and generate reports, individual or distributed architecture, REST API for custom integrations, highly scalable with failover. And when we talk about the supported technology, we can monitor and add application servers, database servers, cloud platforms, virtual monitors, convergence, infrastructure, big data technologies, and various other applications and vendors which are available in the live market today. So now let me take you to the product directly and show you how Application Manager works and what are the various different metrics which can be monitored. So as you can see on the screen, we can add and monitor a wide range of applications and servers in our environment. For example, I want to see how my SQL servers are happening, how the availability, how the performance is going on, what is the usage statistics of each and every database which I have. If I want to see my SQL cluster status, all I have to do is just click on them, and that's going to give me the detailed picture of what is happening in this particular SQL cluster. What's the usage states? If I want to see the performance statistic, yes, I could do it. Backup and restoration task, how often it's been backed up and whether it's success or not, the jobs which has been scheduled, the cluster details, how the clusters are happening, the always availability groups, which databases are all in a high availability mode, and the configuration details as well. So by using Application Manager, I could have a detailed picture about my database servers which are happening. And likewise, you can manage various applications which are there. For example, if you want to manage and view the informations about the Java application which is there in your environment, yes, you can do it. So by using Application Manager, you can monitor various different applications and database servers in your environment, and which gives you a better end user optimization usage and a better leverage of your environment. Moving on to the next topic. The next topic which we are going to see is about integrations. So in OpManager, we can integrate with various different platforms, starting from Service Desk Plus, Analytic Plus, ServiceNow, Slack, and Alarms Now. So now we are going to see how the integration works and what are the various features which are available when we integrate with SDP or ServiceNow. Here we can integrate Service Desk Plus on-prem or cloud, or ServiceNow for logging a ticket automatically when an alarm is triggered. You can assign tickets to respective technicians with priority, category, and etc. You can create tickets and get closed if the alarm is cleared, and you can also synchronize your asserts from OpManager and SDP together. So now let me take you to the product and show you how the various different integration options are available and how the integration can be performed. So when we talk about integration, OpManager provides you a wide range of integration options where you can integrate them with Service Desk Plus, and you can create tickets, and you can integrate with the cloud version, ServiceNow, Application Manager, Slack, Alarms One, and also the Jira service-based integrations are also available with OpManager in terms of integration. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. When we talk about Slack integration, we can easily integrate with a one auth code from the Slack. You can get alarms delivered directly to your Slack workplace, alarms with multiple channels or users. You can have a category severity based channel alerting. And when we integrate Op Manager with Analytic Plus, we will have a visualized data using different chart types and predefined templates. You can build your insight reports, dashboards that gives you a powerful visualization to identify the pattern. You can drill down to specific metrics to pinpoint the areas that needs improvement. And also, when you integrate Op Manager with alarms, now you can group the alarms based on severity, category, and etc. You can filter, you can create filters and classify the alerts. You can get rid of redundant alerts which are coming too very often. So now I am going to talk about the mobile app, which is available with Op Manager with all the add-ons together. And the mobile app, the Op Manager app, is supported in both the platforms, Android and in your app store. So all you have to do is install the app in your mobile version. And once you have them in your mobile, you can see each and every alert which are happening in the Op Manager, which is there in your environment, in your hand itself, which gives you an in-time real-time information of what is happening. Instead of logging into your PC and seeing the emails, you can very well view them in your mobile using the application, the app itself. So now we are going to move to the question and answer session, where we are going to discuss about a few questions which we have received during the course of the webinar, starting with the first question. Can I have only a few add-ons enabled? Yes, you can have few add-ons enabled. Let me show you how this can be achieved. It's pretty simple. So all you have to do is you have to go to settings, general settings. Under general settings, you have to click on system settings. So under system settings, for example, I don't want IP management or packet analysis. I just want flow analysis config file manager. So in those cases, I could just enable the desired add-ons and save them. So once I do that, only those add-ons and its features will be visible for me, and the others will automatically be hidden in the UI. So now let me take you back to the webinar and let's continue with the next question. How to purchase only the required add-ons? It's pretty simple. So all you have to do is you have to get in touch with our sales team and give the exact numbers. I want to monitor 10 interfaces and a net flow for bandwidth utilization. I want to monitor 100 network devices to take backup configurations. So once you have them, you can clearly give the numbers and you can contact the sales team and get the respective numbers. Or you can visit the store.manageengine.com, give the numbers and get the respective license. Or you can also request them from the Op Manager UI itself and get our sales team in touch with you and get more information on the add-ons which you want and add them to the product. Moving on to the next question. Where can I learn more about the add-ons? It's pretty simple and straightforward. Visit the help.opmanager.com, and in our help document, you will have all the information on the various add-ons which you have and the detailed descriptions of what can be monitored, what are the various features which are available, what are the options, advantages, disadvantages, and everything, configuration steps with detailed picture and video description. We would be uploading all our technical videos on how to do videos in our YouTube channel. You can visit them and view them whenever you have time. You can visit our help document, which is help.opmanager.com, where you'll have all the configuration detailed steps on how Op Manager and the add-ons work and how they can be configured. We would be having our technical discussion with our customers and resellers and our partners in our forum post. If you want to get in touch with our team, you can very well drop an email to support hyphen op manager support at manageengine.com, or you can dial in directly and reach us. We have introduced chat support. You can also get in touch, log into the Op Manager, create your chat link, and a technician will be connected to you immediately, and we would be able to address your queries instantaneously. And let's say you want to be get yourself registered and become a certified Op Manager Pro. This is the right time. Click the link which is given in the presentation slide, register yourself, attend the examination, become an Op Manager certified pro, which helps you have a better career management or a better career improvement, where you can use the Op Manager with the add-ons to the fullest and monitor your network equipment to the fullest, and you can have a better network monitoring tool in your environment and you can use it to the fullest. I thank one and all for attending the webinar today. And if you need any scheduled demos, or if you need more, if you're interested in the official demos on OpManager or any of the add-ons, you can very well request it in the chat channel and our team will get back to you. I thank one and all for attending this season's OpManager webinar. Thank you.